What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Morbid Curator Podcast. I'm your host, RotKorpse, and with me I have the Monster Hunter, Evil Slayer, Science Bro. What's up, bro?
What's up, man? Glad to be back again. How's it going?
It's going pretty good, man. Not too bad. How about you?
Not bad, hanging in there. Getting ready for spooky season. Well, spooky season's all year long for me, but the meat and potatoes of it here is starting up now, so I'm pretty excited.
Oh yeah. It's my favorite time of year. I love when it starts getting cooler out, and
Cooler out, and all the cool Halloween stuff comes out, and Spirit Halloween, all that fun stuff.
oh yeah. So it's horror week again, and we are going to be talking about H.P. Lovecraft's Re-Animator. Came out in 1985. Directed by Stuart Gordon and produced by Brian Yunza. He's the dude that did Society, that 1989 Society. You remember that movie?
Yeah. How can I forget it? I remember smelling it.
Yeah, I don't think anybody who's ever seen that movie could possibly forget that movie.
I always say it's the only movie I can actually ever smell without the smell-o-vision, or whatever they call that stuff. But I'm a fan of his.
Yeah,
Good
yeah.
stuff.
It's got Jeffrey Combs as Herbert West and Bruce Abbott as Dan Kane, and the beautiful Barbara Crampton as Megan Halsey.
Mm-hmm. She's a classic. One of the best. One of the best.
Yeah, I love it when Jeffrey Combs and Barbara are together. That's like one of my favorite duos between Castle Freak and From Beyond.
Right? From Beyond. There was one. I don't know if you've ever seen it. I don't know if it was a full movie or not. I had to look. It's been a while. It was. Oh shoot. He was like in another castle or something like that. Oh man, I'm having this whole brain fart. I had this all planned out. I know what I was going to say. I can't remember what the thing was. Anyways, continue, and I will get on my Science Bro laboratory here and look it up and see if I can find out what the heck I'm talking about.
Yeah, no problem, man. So I love this movie. It's one of my favorite movies. The whole Re-Animator trilogy is probably in my top 5 movies. I love those movies.
Mm-hmm. Like you like Bride of Re-Animator and like all the sequels and all that stuff.
Yeah, like I wasn't a huge. I mean, I don't. I loved the Beyond Re-Animator, but it wasn't near as good as the first two.
It was kind of strange.
I watch, but you know.
Yeah, it was strange and like not in the good way.
Yeah, it was just kind of different. It was probably just that gap between Bride of Re-Animator. Wasn't there a pretty decent gap between Bride of Re-Animator and Beyond Re-Animator?
Yeah, I mean, you can just tell by looking at Jeffrey whenever you watch that movie because he looks so much older in that. Yeah, Beyond Re-Animator came out in 2003, and Bride came out in what 19?
Was it 90? Maybe
1990. Yeah, 1990. So there's 23 years there.
Yeah.
Right? No, 13 years. 13. I've been out slaying a lot lately. I'm tired a little bit. Don't judge me. So yeah.
Hey, I'm not judging.
13 years. He actually aged a lot in 13 years. Now that I'm thinking about it, good Lord.
Yeah,
I didn't realize that. I mean, Jeffrey, if you listen to this, I'm sorry.
He didn't even really like the Re-Animator movies. Like, there's so many fun facts with Re-Animator. It's crazy. Like, he didn't even know who H.P. Lovecraft was before doing this movie.
Really?
Yeah, he had no idea who he was or anything.
Jeez, he probably just it seems like he probably read the scripts, like, oh, this is interesting. Maybe it pays a little bit, and I'll do it because I'm trying to get on the map here.
Right. Yeah,
but then it blew him up.
Do what?
That's what I say. No, then it blew him up. After that, it was to the moon.
Yeah, I think it was one of his first lead roles. I don't think it was his very first lead role. I don't think, but it might have been.
It was one of the first, that's for sure. I mean, I think he was doing some stuff in the early 80s, but no, that was definitely his big breakout role for sure.
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of crazy how it starts where they're just like the police officers are going into that medical institute. It's like Switzerland, I'm pretty sure. And you can hear like screaming, and they they end up going into the room, and you see that's when you meet like Herbert West, and he's standing over Dr. Gruber with like his reagent. And
Oh yeah, the old lady, right? The old lady like finds him, or someone's trying to get the cops in there with him.
it's they never like say who it is or anything. It's just like a
Just
real
somebody
quick
that,
uh
right?
quick clip or whatever. But that was a badass, like right off the rip. It's awesome because Dr. Gruber, he's like freaking out because he got injected with that reagent that Herbert West has, and he like his eyes pop out of his skull. You remember that? It's like just gory as
Yeah,
hell.
oh yeah, dude. Oh yeah, pop pop like balloons all over
Yeah.
that woman's face.
Yeah, and the woman like screams and freaks out about it, and she's like, "You killed him," and Wes is like, "No, I didn't. I gave him life."
This was pretty much the perfect like you know I don't know what the like vision in the scene and how he operates and what he thinks about. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
obviously this guy's a smart person, but he's a little off in a way.
yeah, it's like his main goal. Like he doesn't care about anything. You find out throughout the movie, like he doesn't care about anything else other than his reagent and trying to like create life. He doesn't
Right.
talk about anything else. And that little clip starts the movie off, and then it goes into that awesome intro with the intro music, which is like stolen from Psycho, but we're not going to talk about that.
Dude, big time. Big time. Didn't Bride do that too kinda? Or did they use the same one? I
uh,
forget.
I I think it's pretty similar. It's been a while since I've seen Bride. I think I'm pretty sure it's similar for sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure if they use the exact same one or not, um, but yeah, that's crazy, man. I wonder how they got away with that. I mean, maybe they didn't, and we just
I don't know. I know who was it? The Richard Brand. He scored a he wrote this. He created the score for it. That's kind of like the what I know of the backstory. And this is a Full Moon Pictures movie, like Puppet Master, Trancers, and a whole bunch of other awesome stuff. And Charles Band is the founder of that, and Richard Band is his brother. And he did like a lot of the music for all these Full Moon picture movies. Some
uh,
of them are similar. They're actually really good. Like this one, I mean, I know they stole from Psycho a lot, but
yeah,
like Puppet Master's score is actually really good. And but yeah, so that's a little kind of little backstory on who's doing the music for Reanimator.
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I didn't know that. I really liked the music and stuff, the intro and stuff, but I didn't know who did it or anything. So that's cool. That's good to know.
Hell yeah, man.
But yeah, like shortly after it does that cutscene, they're in Arkham, Massachusetts.
Massachusetts.
Yeah, I can't. We'll let you say
Mass.
that.
Massachusetts.
Yeah, massive two shits is what we used to call it.
Massive two shits. Oh my god. Yes, that's perfect.
But you see, Dr. Dan Kane. That's when you meet him, and he's doing that like chest compressions on that woman, and you're kind of what's going? She's like naked. You see her boobs, everything, and you're just what is going on? It doesn't say anything of like why she's dying or anything, but he's super upset that he can't get her to like come back to life. Like I remember the nurse is like, dude, like she's dead. They tried doing like the defibrillator on her,
Right.
and he's just like upset that he like won't stop doing the compressions. Which this is kind of like it's big thing to remember, kind of, because at the end of the movie it's the opposite. Like uh, it's Barbara. It's Barbara that he's doing at the end.
Right. And
So
it kind of shows that he like the difference between him and Herbert West because like he like wants these people to live. You know what I mean? He's like a
yeah,
like a legit well traditional I guess traditional doctor and he wants the people to actually live and like he's trying hard and Herbert's the other way. He's like no they're dead now we can use them for my experiments.
yeah. That's like
It's good contrast. You know what I mean? Like it shows like the difference in the two characters.
yeah, and Herbert's good at like getting Dan to do stuff because of that. He's like, well, we can bring him to life, and then
Right.
That sparks
Definitely
like,
manipulative.
yeah, exactly. And so that lady dies, and he takes her to the morgue, and that's when you meet like Dr. Hill. You see, it's kind of cool. Like you see Dr. Hill like zapping a hole through that dude, the dead
Oh
body,
yeah.
and he's like sticks that Q-tip in there.
Oh, I forgot about that. It's been a while.
Yes, that's when.
It's sick.
So you meet like at that point you meet Dr. Hill and you meet Herbert West. With like that, Dan meets them.
Right. Like you're getting introduced to these characters all like in this little short time span, which is good.
Yeah, it is good.
So get right to the point. You know, that's what I want to know who the characters are in this movie.
Yeah, for sure. And then it's right off the rip, you can tell that West has a problem with Dr. Hill because they somewhat know of each other because Dr. Gruber, the guy that died at the very beginning, um, it was said that like Dr. Hill stole a lot of his work.
Oh, I never even caught on to that, dude. I always get I never caught that
Yeah.
with the names, so that makes sense. That I thought maybe just Dr. Hill was just always jealous in a way because West was like I mean more creative and smarter in a way, you know what I mean, and more
Yeah. They
ambitious. I'll say it's a good term to use for that.
they also like always fought over like the brainstem, the life of the brainstem, like after death,
Mm.
how long. Like they didn't agree on that, and um, Herbert West always brought that up to Dr. Hill, like that he was wrong with the time frame of that of the the brain being alive after death.
I got you. That's right.
Because Dr. Hill always says it's like 6 to 12 minutes, and that's like West's main goal is to like beat that, with his
Hmm. To bring him back. To bring him back. Right.
yeah, to bring him back, yeah.
Okay. That's right.
And Dr. Dan, he ends up needing like I don't know why he needs a roommate, but he like posts that he needs a roommate, and then Herbert West just like shows up at his door.
Shows up. Don't you can't wait a second. Hold on, back up because I know there was a really good scene in between all this that you're not even talking about.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Come on, you can't leave that out. This is an unrated podcast, so you can't leave that out.
You talking about when
This is Barbara Crampton makes her appearance in the movie, her first appearance, and she is
yeah,
in
she's having
bed
sex with Dan.
post post coitus. Is that how
Yeah,
you say that? Post coitus
and that's
with
when you see
Dan.
Barbara's boobs for the first time.
That's right. Yay! That's what I'm talking about. All
Woo!
right.
We can't skip that. What the hell was I thinking, dude?
She was never shy back in the day with that stuff and a bunch of that move this and chopping mall and from beyond. I don't know if she did in that one. I know
I
she got
don't
in
think
that
she was new.
black lingerie. Yeah, I thought she got that black lingerie, but I don't think she ever got
Yeah, she
nude
gets
in
on
that
top
one.
of Jeffrey Combs and frisks him a little bit.
Yeah, lucky Jeffrey, I tell you.
He is lucky.
Yeah. That's. I just want to make sure we didn't skip over
You
that.
know what's crazy? Did you know that she didn't originally have the role as
I
Meg?
did. Yeah, I did hear that before somewhere. I don't know who the person was that. Who was the original actress that was supposed to play
I
this
don't even
role?
know
You
if
know?
I don't even know her name because I don't think she was there long enough to like have a known name. But I remember watching the commentary because I have, obviously I have this on DVD, and there's a commentary like special feature, and it's talking about how she wasn't the original casting for it, but the other woman didn't want to like get naked and
Uh,
stuff, so she just like quit right off, like right out of the blue, just quit.
I gotcha.
And dude, it is crazy because Dr. Hill, I'm pretty sure it was Dr. Hill's wife, uh, David Gale, I'm pretty sure is his name.
Yeah.
She like left him, I think, for that scene at the end.
Really? At the end, she left
Yeah,
him because of the movie scene? Oh,
yeah,
Lord.
which is crazy because
Interesting.
it's like a movie. It was at
I
the premiere.
know.
It was at the premiere. She like got up and left. That's what they were talking about on. I think Stuart Gordon mentioned it on that commentary.
Um,
that she just got up and left, and like I think they broke up after that just because of that scene.
the scene with the head
Yeah, with
between
the
the legs.
yeah,
Okay. Yes. Well, I don't know. Um, I think he still won out in the end on that one. So.
right. So yeah, we see Meg's boobs, and which is awesome. And then you get he like Dan like chases her around with a sheet on his head,
Yeah,
and like
that's when Herbert shows up, right?
yeah, that's when Herbert they like because Meg's trying to get away from him, and she opens up the door, and Herbert's just standing there, all weird, and asking about the apartment, the room at their that he can rent out. And they like go down into the basement. He's like, "Oh yeah, this is gonna be great for me." he's like, "You'll never know I'm here."
The best roommate ever. Don't
Yeah,
mind all the, death and the corpses and everything else.
yeah, and Meg's like super suspicious of him, like instantly. Like she just knows like something's up with him, and they kind of have like a hate relationship throughout the whole movie. So yeah, Herbert West and Barbara Cramp, or I don't know why I keep calling her Barbara Crampton, but Meg, uh, they have like a hate relationship throughout the whole movie. You can tell that they both despise each other, and but Doctor Kane, he ends up giving Herbert West the room, and it like skips to a different scene. It's like the next day or whatever, and Dr. Hill is like demonstrating cutting into a skull, and he like peels back the skin of the head, which is like it's a pretty badass scene.
Oh hell yeah!
And he like gets the bone saw out and cuts the skull and peels it off and like is showing the brain and stuff. And he's talking about the the brain, the life of the brainstem again, and it's like pissing off Herbert West, and he's like breaking the pencils to interrupt him throughout throughout the speech that Dr. Hill's given. And obviously that pisses off Dr. Hill. He ends up like wrapping up his lecture early, and he's like telling Herbert West that he maybe he should get a pin next time.
Get a pin next time so it won't be so tough to break. I guess.
I don't know. I mean he could still
Oh,
break.
because he thinks he's doing it on accident or whatever. He's not, obviously, but
Right.
I get it. They just hate each other.
Yeah, there's a lot of West doesn't really like anybody really. I mean he likes Dan, that I will give him that, but anybody else is like he has like a weird hate for.
Well, he's like, especially, I think Dr. Hill. He just thinks Dr. Hill is like not, I don't know, pursuing is what he could. Like, you know what I mean? Like he's
Yeah.
like holding back or something, or Dr. Hilson thinks what Herbert West can do is a bunch of bullshit, but it's really not. And West doesn't, he
Well,
wants to prove him wrong.
I remember Wes saying that like earlier at the beginning of the movie that Dr. Hill's like um thought of the brain or whatever is like outdated.
Okay, yeah,
He ends up telling Dr. Hill that.
that's right. Okay,
But yeah, so they just like leave the classroom. That was pretty much it for that scene. And then it shows Dr. Hill going to Dean Halsey's house, which is Meg's dad. And they're just sitting there, and Meg walks in, and it's so weird how Dr. Hill is with Meg. Like he's creepy.
yeah, because he wants her, right? But
Yeah,
he's like 30 years older than her.
yeah, he's like an old man. He's young and beautiful.
Right, right. Yeah, it's weird, and her dad is like oblivious, I think, to everything. Obviously.
Yeah, even and it's weird. Like it's out of place for Dr. Hill, but he even asked Dean if like she's dating Dan. Like that's kind of weird. Like why would he mention that?
Yeah, like what do you care?
Yeah. So like at that point, you kind of get a weird vibe vibe from Dr. Hill.
That's when
And
it's like more. Yeah, I mean that's kind of like good showing like he's not. It's not. He's not just fighting with Herbert West. It's like he's also a creep.
yeah,
So it makes a
he's like
double.
jealous. He's jealous of Dan too because he gets Meg loves Dan.
Oh yeah.
So this is when it gets so Dan ends up showing up and him and Meg leave. And this is when um Dan is trying to have sex with with Meg again. Go figure.
Good
And
lord.
she like denies it, and he's like, "What is wrong with you? Like, why? What the fuck's wrong with you?" And she's like super weirded out that West is there, or like is living there. And she's like, the dude closes his door. You don't see him all day long. Like what? He's just creepy. It's weird that he doesn't show himself or anything. And she's like, even the cat's terrified of West, and his name's Rufus. The name is the name of the cat. And then they're like, we should tell everybody like this movie is like a comedy. Also, it's not just like a straight up.
Right.
It's a comedy too. Um, but yeah, so the cat's name is Rufus, and they're like, you know what? We haven't seen the cat in in a while. Like what? And Meg does like this stupid ass like whistle for the cat. It's just like whoosh, whoosh, like
Isn't that like the universal language for cats?
I
That's what
guess I
everybody
don't know.
says.
I don't know what it was, dude. It just annoyed the shit out of me, like how much she did it in the movie. Like I was like, what? And it was just so funny how she did it. I don't know. It was weird.
She's like going around all the hallways and everything,
Yeah.
trying to lure this kitty, but to no avail because of why is that? Why is she cannot find him?
Because she ends up going into West's room and you see like a glow from the reagent in the fridge. She opens up the fridge and it's the dead Rufus. And she screams and she turns around and Herbert West is there. And he's like, "What
Oh
are you doing
yeah.
in my room?"
I don't know. I mean, I just killed your cat. Whatever.
Yeah.
That's like the biggest.
I'm trying to remember what his excuse was. It was like it fell out of the trash and a bag got over his head or something and he suffocated.
Oh my god.
I'm pretty sure that's what his
I
excuse was.
mean, maybe that really happened. I don't
Right.
think they never showed it, so you don't know.
I mean, technically that could be, you know. And Dan was like,
Could
"Dude,
be.
why'd you not call? Like, why didn't you call or write a note?" And this is like a big quote in Re-Animator. He was like, "What would the note say? Cat dead. Details later."
I thought there was an actual note that said that. Wasn't
No,
there?
no, there's
Am I
no
having
note.
like a what is that called? A butterfly effect or something? I swear I thought there was an actual scene where he did that.
No, man.
I guess not.
Yeah, it was just him saying, because Dan asked, Dan was like, "Why don't you write a note?" And he's like, "What would the note say?"
Maybe I've seen like I don't know fan art that did that or something like that. Just
Yeah,
with
I
the
think I've even
scene.
seen some fan art that
Yeah, that's
did.
probably what it is.
Yeah, but yeah, the note doesn't exist. It would have been cool though. That would have been a cool thing. Like if Dan walks in there and sees that, he's like, "What the hell is this note?" Like,
Yeah. Herbert doesn't even care about the cat. He's like, whatever.
yeah, and
The science is important, which I agree. The science is very important.
yeah, and Meg at this point like really hates West, and West
Oh yeah.
really hates Meg because he can like see Meg getting in the way of his creations at this. He's like, dude, this
Yeah.
needs to go. And he even says that like somewhere in the movie. He's like, I can't even remember where it was, but he's just like he wants her out.
He's like, no more. She's holding up progress.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And they he threatens Dan and Meg that he'll tell Dean about tell the dean about all of their fucking around.
Ah, yeah, 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 that's right. Oh, that's like, what, the dean doesn't even know. What does he think the kid's coming over for?
Yeah, I know. I don't know because they were studying.
Lord, I forgot about that.
So like the dean thinks that they're just studying, basically.
Oh
He,
yeah,
like you said
studying. All
earlier,
right,
he's just oblivious to like everything that's going on.
studying.
But yeah, and this is the awesome part where they end up just going to bed and I guess chalking it up that there's a dead cat in the fridge. But Dan wakes up to like screeching, like sounds like a cat, and he's looking for Wes. He's like, Wes, do you hear that? And then he hears a loud thump in the basement, and the cat is reanimated, and they're like trying to fight it off, him and Wes.
That's right. And then the cat's like on his back, and he's like jumping around. It's so obviously not a real cat. I mean, obviously, it wouldn't be, but I don't know. That's the whole genius part of it.
Right. It really, dude, I love this. It's just such a good movie. Like just the effects and everything is just awesome. The makeup, the blood, the gore, it's awesome. And it like shows Dan throwing the cat at the wall and the cat dies, which makes no sense because they're like beating the shit out of the cat the whole time. But then he just,
With the baseball bat, right? Like Dan's got like
yeah,
a
he had a
baseball
bat.
bat and smashing it.
But no, he throws it at the wall and then it dies. Okay. But, um, and it's funny because when the cat is dead, Dan like walks up to this is like a funny scene. Dan like walks up to the cat and uh Wes is behind him on the ground. And he's like, "Look out!" And it scares the shit out of Dan. And then Wes just like starts laughing, like man, he's just like laughing. Like he's like that shows you that Wes just thinks like this is all just like a joke. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
It's nothing to him like it is to Dan. And Wes ends up showing Dan like the reagent and telling him about his theories, and he wants Dan's help because he's smart but he also can like get him into like he has the authority to like get him into like the morgues and stuff.
Yeah, because that's what he wants to use him for, right?
Yeah,
For all that stuff. Yeah.
he
Because he's
tries
like
to tell
norm.
him
He's like quote unquote normal, so he can like kind of convince all the authoritative people that need be to let me use all this equipment and labs and everything else.
yeah, definitely. And Dan doesn't really like believe him, even though he just seen the cat and stuff. And he just seen the cat being alive, but he still is like, I don't know if he's like in shock or something, but he doesn't believe it. And Herbert's like, "Do you believe that he's dead now?" And he like picks him up and drops him, and it's just like a rock because he's in like rigor mortis or whatever. And Dan's like, "Yeah, like he's dead now." And then Wes shoots him up with the reagent in the brain. The cat, he shoots the cat up with the reagent, and Meg come. It's just like twitching. The cat's just twitching. Meg comes
Yeah.
down and like freaks out, and
She
that
sees the cat moving around.
yeah, you see the cat. The cat doesn't move
What?
because remember it's like it's got thrown out the wall, so it has like broken everything.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Even Wes says something about like it's not going to tango or something. I don't know the actual quote, but he says don't expect it to tango.
It's pretty much done.
Yeah, but
It
you
ain't
see it,
gonna
like
do much.
twitching and meowing and stuff, and Meg comes down there freaking out, and then it just skips the scene again, which is weird because it's like they didn't like what did they do with the cat? Like they don't. I mean, the cat later on you see is still in the basement, but they're not weirded out.
They just leave it there, dude. What can they do?
I guess. And Dan goes to the dean and like tells him about Wes and how he's reanimated a dead cat and all this shit. And Dean Halsey's like, dude, you're full of shit. You guys are insane. And
Yeah, I think.
he like kicks him out of school.
Yeah,
Like,
because he's. I think he's mad because like he's involving his daughter in all this stuff because he said that Meg saw the cat.
yeah, that's right. Yep.
So
And
he's like, "No, you get the hell out of here, boy. We don't need that stuff.
Yeah. And so they kick him out, and Wes is kicked out. Or no, he makes Dan write him a note, like an apology letter or something, and suspends him. But Wes is completely kicked out. But that's how Dan ended up going back in. Remember, because he has Herbert West on the bed, and he's pushing him into the morgue. He's like hiding him. And the security officer like stops him and he's like, "What, you got my lunch?" And lifts up the sheet, and you can see Herbert West's face, but you can't. The security guard doesn't see it, but like as the watcher, you see it. So that's like,
oh yeah.
And dude, I read something really weird that apparently, you know how the security guard gets up to like go get something to eat multiple times in the movie?
Yeah.
Apparently, I read on like I don't even know what it was, like a trivia thing or something. And I guess Stuart Gordon said that the reason why he was doing that was to go masturbate.
Like in the story?
I hope in the story, but it didn't specify. Whatever I read didn't specify, so I honestly have no idea.
It just so what he saw Jeffrey Combs' feet, and he's like, you know what?
He's like, you know what?
I'm gonna go masturbate now.
Yeah. So I don't
know. Directed by Quentin Tarantino. There, he likes the feet stuff. No, that's weird. I had not heard that. That's news to me.
Yeah, man. I guess it came out of Stuart Gordon's mouth. He didn't really specify, so I don't know.
Hey, who knows?
Yeah.
Then they like searching around. They're searching around for like someone to use, right? For their
they're looking for a body that's not like super toasted or, you know.
Oh yeah. That guy that they pick, I know that big dude that they pick. I guess he must have been like a stunt double for Arnold Schwarzenegger in a lot of old '80s movies too.
Oh, really?
Little trivia there. Yeah, I read that. I think in the trivia on IMDb or something like that. But
oh, hell yeah,
it was kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's badass, dude. I didn't know that. That's cool. They is that the guy who had like the heart damage that they end up using?
Yeah, he's like a football player or something.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay.
Like
yeah, he was like a big ass dude. Like
yeah.
I remember Dan even saying like because he was recording and stuff. He said that he was like a real fit guy.
Yeah, because they're fighting with him.
Yeah. So they used the reagent on that body, and it shows like Dean Halsey and Meg coming down to the morgue. Like they're trying to get to Dr. Dan Kane, Herbert West.
Yeah. They know they're in there? Is that what they're looking for? I forget.
Yeah, they know so the dean's looking for Dan, and the lady at the front desk says that he's down in the morgue. So they're heading down that way. And they're trying, in the meantime, West and Dan are trying to get this body going, and it's not working. So he ups the dose, and you can like see his fingers twitching, and he ends up waking up and like just grabbing Herbert West, and he attacks Dan and Herbert and all this stuff, and the dean comes in. And the like zombie guy, I don't know his name.
What do they call it? Yeah, what do they call him? Is it like the regenerate or something? I don't know.
Yeah, regenerate? He's just like some zombie guy, he like bites some of the dean's fingers off.
Dude, that was like when I first saw this movie, I was shocked that they attacked him. I don't know why. I didn't think he'd be somebody, and later on he turns into one of these things too because they were trying to reanimate him. I don't know. Just when you see him like at the beginning, he's so like uptight and everything. You just don't expect him to be one of these regenerates or whatever they're called.
And Wes grabs like a bone saw and like puts it from his through his back out his chest. The zombie guy.
Oh yeah,
it's real cool and gory. It like shows the blood splatting and
these movies, all these Stuart Gordon movies, they never really hold back on the gore and all this stuff like that, which is awesome.
Oh yeah, that's why I love
They,
them so much, man. They're just really brutal, and it's funny as hell because Dean Halsey's like dead at this point, and Wes, instead of like freaking out that all these people are dead, he like grabs the Dean and is trying to use his reagent on him because it's a fresh body.
like super fresh, like right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, and like Dan's arguing with him, and Herbert's like, "Dude, we have to do this right now. Like, we're wasting time. Like we could see how it." And so basically, Herbert West is like a big manipulator, and he's trying to manipulate Dan into thinking that it's okay because, he's like, we can bring him to life, but we're wasting time. We need a fresh body, and he always says like, at least we're not like killing somebody. Like the only way to get a body
Right.
is to kill him, and he's like, so he's just manipulating him. And Dan falls for it every single time, even in Bride Re-Animator.
Oh, dude, he never learns.
Yeah, he never learns. He always just follows Herbert West because he's just that good of a manipulator. And so they end up, using the reagent on the Dean, and Meg walks in and sees her dad all zombified. And that's when, yeah, that's right. That's when, Meg is calling for Dan and she's freaking out. And Herbert West is like, damn that bitch.
Always interrupting.
Yeah, he hates her because it's like, dude, she's always, we're about to get some good, science stuff. I'm trying to think
Some good results here.
results.
Some
Yeah, there
good
you go.
feedback. Yeah, man, I'm trying to get some good results and feedback, and take some notes, do some laboratory stuff, and this Meg here keeps interrupting every time.
Yeah, so Dean Halsey wakes up and grabs both Dan and West, and the security officer ends up coming down, after masturbating apparently. uh, and
For the third time.
You're right, yeah, the third time in the movie. And West, he like blames Dean Halsey for the whole thing, and he's just such a good manipulator, man. He even like convinced the security guard that like him and Dan came down there, and the Dean, like, it was like the Dean's fault that one body is dead with the bone saw on it. He even said like, he pointed at the bone saw and he's like, this thing, he put, the Dean put this thing through that body. Like he acted like he didn't know what a bone saw was.
This thing over here.
Yeah, it's like, dude, come on, man. But the security guard buys it, and they put zombie. I'm just gonna call him Zombie Dean. Like they put him in a straitjacket and put him in a padded room. He's just like a zombie from, like fucking Night of the Living Dead or some shit.
I'd like to know how they got the straitjacket on him, and he didn't
I know, right?
destroy whoever the hell put it on him. But I guess I don't know. Maybe that's one of the effects of one of the new zombies.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. It's and so Dr. Hill's talking to her, and that's when he gets even more creepy with her. He's like, uh if you're ever alone and you need somebody, he's like, I know you're alone and shit. Like he's just so weird, man. And
Oh yeah.
uh Dan tells Dan ends up like coming in later, and like after Dr. Hill leaves or whatever, and or maybe Meg comes. I don't know. I can't remember like what scene it was, but he Meg is looking for her dad, and Dan's like, he's not insane. He's dead. Like trying to convince her that he's dead. Like it wasn't just him being crazy. And I think she
Right.
knew that. Like he even says something like, this, like, because she's seen the cat, she's seen the dead cat and then it reanimated. So he's like, this is the same thing. Like, her dad is not insane. He's just dead.
Something's going on. It's like this is weird. This is too much coincidence.
Yeah.
Cat and Herbert West moving in and all this stuff, and now the dad is acting like this. Come on.
So, at this point, Dr. Hill goes down into the basement to talk to, like, just shows up out of nowhere. I don't even know how he knows where West and Dan live, but he just comes down and asks. He's like suspicious of West and Dean Halsey. Like, he knows. He even says, like, we both know that he's actually dead. So, like, what's going on? You obviously know something. And Hill wants to make a Dr. Hill wants to like make a deal with him. I
So he
mean,
wants to learn from him. He has to. He has to like learn what the heck's going on.
yeah. I mean, I guess it's not
That's what
really a
I
deal.
think.
It's more of like blackmail. Like, he wants to
Yeah.
blackmail West into taking the fame of the discovery, but in return he won't like call the cops on West, or put him in
Right.
prison for murder. And West ends up showing Hill all of his stuff, and Hill thinks it's like brilliant. He's like, man, like, this is some brilliant shit. And as he's showing him, West like goes back and grabs that shovel and beats him over the head with it, and then cuts his head off.
Because he knows he's gonna like steal the idea, right? And
Yeah,
make it for himself.
yeah. He's like, nobody's gonna steal my shit. Like, that's what he's thinking. Just so he
Yeah.
chops his head off, and it's an awesome scene. It's like one of my favorite scenes for some reason. Like, I think it's cool.
That's a pretty cool effect how they did that with the head over the shovel like that and like the skin. So they did a good job on that.
Yeah, it was just like awesome seeing like Herbert West, like, from a ground point of view, like you're looking up at him, and he's got the shovel and he's like stomping on the shovel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like showing it. Yeah, I don't know. It's just really, and you see like the blood squirting up. Like, it's almost like you're the one that's getting your head cut off. Like that's the
point of view. It's like a point of view.
Yeah, yeah. I thought that was really cool.
And he sticks his head on that pan in that pan. It's hilarious because he can't get it to like stand up.
Yeah, the head keeps falling off, so he uses that like I don't even know what you would call it. Like, he has his notes on it. It's like a big needle.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. I know like when you go to diners and stuff, the servers use that like when they take your order. They
Yeah, yeah.
put the finished ones on the. I don't know what they're called either. But
Yeah,
yes, I know what you're talking about.
and he just like takes his head and just shoves it right on there. I was like, hell yeah.
It's like the classic scene. I mean, this is like the movie poster, pretty much.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, I even got tatted up with it, basically. With
right.
Yeah, Dr. Hill's head, and Wes is talking about how he's never, of course, Herbert West, it never reanimating somebody's body never like leaves his brain, no matter how much stress and dramaticness just happened. He's like, I've never done whole parts. So he starts injecting like his head and then his lower half of the body,
right,
and reanimates those. And the body, or the head, he's like, West, and he's like, you bastard.
It's funny, yeah, because you think you need like everything all together to do this, but no.
Yeah,
you don't need like the heart to go with the brain or vice versa, or the central nervous system or anything. It's just any kind of piece you can just stab it with the what do you call it? Regenerate?
The reagent.
Reagent, sorry. Yeah, and yeah, that's all it takes.
Yeah, which, and that's where the whole Bride of Re-Animator movie comes into play, basically.
Right. How come Dr. Hill can talk? None of the other ones can talk. That is a good
question. That is a great question.
Maybe because he's smart. I don't know. He's a doctor.
Right. Yeah.
A scientist.
Yeah. Nobody else can talk,
and nobody else can talk. Yeah. I guess you got to have your head cut off to talk. I don't know.
Right.
And they control your other part of your body too.
Right. Yeah, because the lower half of his body comes up to Wes and slams his head off the desk, and Wes ends up like basically passing out, getting knocked out. And it shows Dan and Meg like searching through Dr. Hill's stuff. And this is when you find out that Dr. Hill really is a weirdo, because Dan finds that folder of Meg's like hair and like pictures and like
all that weird stuff.
It was like a newspaper from like her homecoming or some shit. Like, it was just weird. And Dan's like, what the fuck? Like that's when he knows that Dr. Hill really is like a really, really weirdo.
I know, dude. Got her hair. How did they even get her hair? How does that
Yeah, I don't
work?
know. Yeah, it's like what?
She must have. That even makes it weirder. Like, you go in there when she's sleeping and like cut it off. I don't know.
Yeah, it was like in like a ponytail almost looking thing, if I recall.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, and then Wes wakes up. Like it's like hopping scenes between Dan and Meg, and then Wes, and then so it shows Wes waking up, and like all of his shit is gone, all of his notes, all the reagent, and everything. And it's funny, like Dan comes downstairs, which is weird because Dan was in a whole different. It must have been like when Wes ends up waking up, it must have been like hours later or something
Yeah.
from the scene.
Yeah.
Because Dan comes down the steps, you're like, wait a minute, I just seen you in a different building. But so yeah, that makes sense. It must have been just like a few hours later. And Dan's like, dude, what's wrong? And he's like, they took all my, Hill, it's Dr. Hill. He took all my stuff. And he makes the comment, what does he say? Like, he took all of it, and he's like, except for the stuff upstairs. Like he still has an extra reagent.
Oh, yeah, like in his fridge, right?
Yeah.
In his room.
So yeah, they just, they go looking for Dr. Hill now, and it shows like Dean. Remember, it shows Dean's like he's been like lobotomized, like it has that hole in his head.
Yeah.
Because Dr. Hill, like his plan is to like control, like mind control these zombies, basically,
Right.
like dead. And it shows Dr. Hill's like lower half, like injecting more reagent into Hill's head.
Yeah, he's doing that, and he's like pouring blood on him too. I don't know what that's about. Is that
Yeah, I
supposed
know. He's
to?
like, you don't ever see anybody else like doing this
No.
throughout the whole movie. So it's
Maybe
kind of,
they're learning. I don't know.
yeah, I don't, he like he like goes into the fridge and grabs like, samples of blood from other people, I guess, and just dumps it on his face. And Hill's just like, he's like getting a facial from it. He's like, ah,
Right? He loves it.
yeah, he loves it weirdly. Go figure. And it shows like his lower half carrying the head on the pan. Which, did you know that it's like his shoulders and everything was on his back, like David Gale, like the actor, he had to like
Yeah.
stick his head through like the middle, and he was like walking with that shit on his back, basically.
They must have shot that some different way, like where I don't know. Because I
Yeah,
mean, he had been a lot taller than he really was, so I wonder how they shot that. That's
yeah, I don't
interesting.
know. Maybe he was walking around on his knees. Maybe I can't remember. They
Could
said
have
that,
something.
and I can't remember. It's been so long since I've seen that, but
So that's his, like when he's holding the head, that's his real hands. That's his hands or
yeah,
somebody else's.
I'm pretty sure that's his hands. Yeah, like somehow they manipulated that to, like his lower
Gotcha.
half to be like above him. Like he's like sticking his head through that thing,
Yeah.
through the pan and shit. Like it's weird how they have it. And it shows, Dr. Hill going up to the dean, the zombie dean, and like talking to it. Like, and you can see that
Right.
Dean Halsey like understands what he's saying. So that's how you know that that's when you find out about the plan, where he's just kind of like gonna mind control all these zombie guys.
That's when he gets the I don't know what the term for it is. I should, but I don't. The fake head or whatever, when he puts it on top of the body, it looks so awesome
Yeah,
and
dude.
terrible.
Yeah, and the security guard, he buys it. He like falls for it.
Well, he's too busy looking at nudie magazines, and this probably
Dude,
is
you
why
know
they said
what?
he's
Yeah,
masturbating all the time. So that's
that does
probably what
make
he's
sense. Was
doing.
it nudie magazines?
Dude, yeah, it was like a boudoir magazine. It was some kind of generic like Playboy thing or something. Yeah.
Yeah, that must. Okay, so that does make sense what Stuart Gordon said then. That
Yep. And
because
he's
he
like
does get
oblivious.
3 different times or something.
He's oblivious, and the guy just walks right by, and then his ear falls off, and he doesn't even. Oh yeah, he
Yeah,
does see him. Okay, he does see him.
he like walks by and he's got his own head in the duffel bag, and he like he just walks by, and the guy's like Dr. Hill, and then he answers, but he's it's like muffled because his head's in the bag.
Oh yeah, the guy walks away. Like that's right. He goes break time or something like that, and he walks away. So after he's reading the magazine, yeah, that guy's totally jerking it.
Yeah, dude, that's so crazy.
Oh man, good lord! Now I can't watch this movie the same. Now it's just about masturbating security guard.
Right.
Jeez.
So it shows like Meg and Dan talking, and uh, the dean like comes through the door and attacks them, and like they're at their house, and then it shows it like goes to another scene, I think, where it like shows Dr. Hill lobotomizing like another body with the laser and stuff. Like you can like he's like making an army. You can kind of like start seeing that he's making some type. He has like a plan. We don't really know it at this point, like what the hell he's doing, but you can kind of get an idea. And so that's when Dean Halsey brings Meg to the morgue, and just right in front of Dr. Hill, like Dr. Hill's head is on the table.
Oh yeah.
And her own dad like strips her butt ass naked. And that's when you see like you see the 80s bush. You see
that's gotta be pretty traumatizing for somebody.
Right, yeah.
Oh yeah, she's fully she's got the whole ladies thing going on there.
Oh yeah. You see it all. That's Barbara Crampton at her finest.
Yeah, and then Dr. Hill's like looking like as his body's strapping her down. He's like so creepy looking at her the whole time. And
yeah,
the guy's a total weirdo.
It's so crazy that like Barbara can do that. Like it's awesome that she can do that and not like feel creeped out, because she just knows, it's just for the film and stuff. And I got like a lot of respect for the the other actors for not making her feel uncomfortable during that.
Right. Too. I think directing has a lot to do with that too, like making her feel comfortable, which they should. So
yeah, for sure, yeah, definitely.
Something called a closed set, where there's nobody but the director, her, and probably Dr. Hill there. That's about it.
You're right. And then it shows, obviously, it can't be Dr. Hill's, like in the who's acting, but somebody's like groping her, like literally just grabbing her boobs straight on, and. So I wonder who that is. I wonder who did that, because it can't be Hill, because the angle it wouldn't. You know what I mean? It had to have been somebody else in the lower half of him doing that.
Right.
So I wonder who. Jeffrey Combs is probably like, I'll do it.
Somebody got paid to do that. Somebody got paid to do that. Think about it.
That is great. And she like is screaming. She like wakes up because she's asleep during this whole time. She got knocked out. She wakes up and she like kicks the fake head off the body, and then like is screaming because she can see like the severed, like the bottom half of no head, and so she's freaking out. And this is when it starts getting real weird with Dr. Hill, and this is probably why his wife ends up leaving him in real life.
Oh yeah. Probably
because
it's still acting though. Good lord.
Yeah, it is acting. So, if you're gonna be in the business, you gotta. If you have a significant other, she should be, on the same side as you. Where it's.
I was going to say he must have not have like mentioned that to her in that scene. I don't know. That's the only thing I can think of.
Well, yeah, they did end up saying that, where he didn't even mention this to her. Like she didn't know about it watching it when they were at the.
Well,
yeah, I guess that would probably be something that you should tell.
Right. Just so you know,
because it wasn't.
I'm going to be holding my own severed head and licking all over this young woman.
Yeah, man.
And something you should know.
He is literally. I mean, he literally like is licking and sucking on her breast, like.
Yeah.
So that's it is what it is, though. It's it's acting.
Yeah, it is.
And it shows him going down on her for
Oh yeah, a little bit. That's when
a little bit
freaking out.
And Wes walks in on him, and it's so funny. He's like, I'm so disappointed in you. talking to Dr. Hill. He's like, you know, I don't want to quote it wrong, but basically he's just saying like, you know, you're a scientist and this, and you're just gonna use it for this, like going down on a woman, you know.
Oh yeah. You're not using it for the right reasons. Is probably what he's trying to say.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
uh,
that's when all the people come to life, like all the other corpses, right?
yeah, like a little bit before that, he's like, um, you know, Dr. Hill was talking shit to West, and Dr. West is like, who's gonna believe a talking head? Get a job at a sideshow.
Oh yeah, that's hilarious.
And
A little bit.
yeah, and then that's when the bodies in the morgue all wake up.
Right. And they all have holes in their head where he did the lobotomized thing.
Yeah, like
I
they
noticed that.
um so it was like that's when you find out that was his plan, was to just take control of all
Hmm.
the minds of these zombies. And they're all like butt ass naked, which is cool. Did you another there's so many fun facts for this movie, dude. I fucking love this movie. But there was supposed, like, all the men, you were supposed to see their dicks the whole time, like all of them. I don't know
Yeah,
if
you
you
can't. I mean, I know there's one guy, dude. He looked like he's packing. I don't know. They show some stuff.
do they.
Maybe not all of them, though. Maybe not all of them. I don't know.
Because I do know that Stuart Gordon wanted them all to, like, their penis to be showing for all the men,
For
but
realism, I guess.
yeah, and they denied that, and they used a bunch of fake bushes
Oh yeah. Okay.
to put on all of them. So that's
A
why
good
you,
thing it was. Yeah, it's a good thing that was the '80s because they all had them anyways. So.
yeah. I mean, yeah, it didn't make no difference, you know, like nobody thought anything different. It would have been weird if it was shaved. Everybody would have been like, "What the
Right?
fuck?"
I know. What is this craziness?
And so Dean Halsey's still like zombified and attacking, like all these zombie things are like attacking Meg and, you know, West and all this shit. And Meg's like talking to her dad, like, dad, you know, and he like realizes that it's Meg and like saves her from the other zombies. And he like attacks, remember he attacks Dr. Hill. He grabs,
Yeah, like squeezes his head, and like that affects. For some reason, I don't know why, but it affects all the other ones. Like he squeezes his eyes, and the other one, all the others, the reanimated corpses, like hold their eyes, like it's hurting them too.
yeah, because it's like their brain is all connected somehow. Like I don't,
Oh, okay.
it doesn't show how he does it, because all it shows is him drilling into their head with that laser. But
That's right.
whatever
Okay.
he did, it like, I wish they would have showed it, because I don't know. Whatever he did, it kind of like connected all of them together.
Right.
Yeah, and it's got like that Lucio Fulci fucking eye gouge shit going on.
Oh yeah, big time. He smushes his head and throws it against the wall.
Yeah, and it explodes on the wall. That's so funny, dude.
The security guard's like, "Fuck this, I'm out."
Which makes no sense, because how, if his head exploded, then how was he in Bride or
I
Reanimator?
know exactly. Now that's one of those. We don't talk about that. It's just the way it is.
Right. And it was kind of cool too, because it kind of had like John Carpenter's The Thing, like Dr. Hill's other, like, bottom half, like starts like having some like John Carpenter's The Thing shit
Right,
going
it
on.
like explodes out, right? Like his intestines or something
Yeah, it's
come
like a
flying
test.
out and
It,
grabs Doctor West,
yeah, it like grabs West, and it's like it's cool. It's so
or not Doctor West.
badass.
That's
And
disgusting. I can imagine having somebody's intestines wrapped around my mouth. Ugh.
right, dude. And then it's just like basically showing Dan and Meg running, and he chops off that zombie's hand, you know, because it chokes Meg, and it's like choking her, and he ends up chopping it off with the axe that he finds,
That's
like
right.
those like fire axes, you know,
Yeah,
and that's when he runs to like a hospital bed because she's not breathing, and he does compressions on her, and it's like the same scene as the beginning, you know. He's
yeah.
like,
Right at the beginning, it like the bookend scenes there. It works. It works like
yeah,
that.
yeah, which is cool that they did that, because it's like showing how much he wants life, how much he
Right.
and it's somebody he loves this time, so it's even worse. He's trying to defibrillate her, and it's the same woman. I'm pretty sure it's the same nurse that told him, like, dude, she's
It
dead.
is.
And the nurse says the same thing, like she's dead, like she's gone. And it shows, he's like crying, and uh,
he tries to like bring her back, like just like before in the beginning, and it's to no avail. It's not really working.
yeah.
Just like the
So
beginning.
the only thing that he can think of is, damn, you know what? I weirdly have some reagent right now,
Right.
which I don't
And then
know
like,
how the hell he got that, but
who says that? Herbert West or no?
no, Herbert West is still
Oh,
downstairs.
that's right. Because he loves. That's right. He loves her. Like he wants to get her, bring her back.
Yeah, and I don't know where he pulled the
Shit.
reagent from. Maybe he like snuck some from West like a while back in the movie, and I just didn't catch it or something. But somehow he has some reagent, and he's like, "I love you," and then it shows him like putting the reagent into her like head, and then it ends, and you hear Meg scream like off camera, and that's it.
It's kind of like Pet Cemetery, the original. I don't know. The original Pet Cemetery is the same way. Like, oh, I gotta bring my loved one back, but the only way I can do it is the bad way. And badly for everybody.
Right. It's so crazy though, like how it obviously shows Meg like coming back, but like it doesn't say anything about it in the Bride Re-Animator, does it?
Right. I don't think he even mentions her. Probably couldn't because licensing reasons or something like that.
Yeah.
Who knows? Barbara didn't want. I don't know what didn't want to be in it for some odd
Well,
reason. Or
did you know like I do know this, that like Barbara Crampton's agent like convinced her not to take the role because it was like a small role.
oh, the second one would have been.
Yeah, like it was too small of a role for her, so like it would have been.
Oh, it probably just would have showed what happened to her after she came back, and they probably would have killed her or something. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like killed her off early, and then it would have showed them in that wherever that South American country they were in. I forget,
yeah, and
but
Kathleen Kinmont or whatever was the cast.
yeah, true, true.
And dude, and before we get off here, dude, did you know that Christopher Lee was supposed to be Dr. Hill?
Really, that would have been fantastic.
Yeah, he turned it down, I guess. That would.
Oh, damn, dude, that would have been awesome. He's done a lot worse roles than that. Not
Yeah,
many, but there's some.
definitely.
Like Satanic Rites of Dracula. People will kill me for that, but I don't like that movie. He was barely in it, anyways.
Right. But,
Not
all
a
right,
good
man.
one. Not.
Go ahead. What were you saying?
No, I was just saying this movie. I know this is one of your favorites. I love this movie too. I mean, how? What do we do? We do it out of how many stars? 5 or 10? Is it
We
five?
rate it on a scale of
1 to what? Sorry, you cut out.
1 to 10.
1 to 10. All right, I'll give this an 8.5.
Wow.
Sorry, bro. Don't hate me.
Wow. I
It's
can't
not perfect. There's some stuff that doesn't add up.
Yeah, that is true.
But all movies had that, especially back then. So I'm sure. I'm sure I can guess. Already guess what yours is going to be. But
Yeah, mine's easily a 9 or a 10. Like straight.
9 or 10.
I love this movie so much.
I dig it.
It
No,
has
I
like
dig it.
I have a weird fuzzy feeling in my stomach for this movie.
Of course. I mean, enough to get a tattoo on yourself for it.
Yeah, I do. I got a huge
Hell yeah.
portrait of Jeffrey Combs' face
That's right.
on my arm. Yeah, dude, it's
I
awesome.
dig it.
Between this and Bride Re-Animator, I can't pick between the two which one's my favorite. They're both like equally as
It's tough.
yeah.
It's tough, dude. It is tough. We'll have to watch the Brighter Reanimator next time, or
Yeah,
sometime in
yeah.
the near future.
We'll definitely have to talk about that one for sure because it's such a good movie, and I'm sure a lot of like horror fanatics would be into it too. But yeah, man, I think we're gonna wrap this up, and thanks for coming on as usual. I think we're
Cool
gonna
deal, man.
be that new Vanish next week on
Oh,
comic.
that's right. I got to get that. I got to read that. You're right. Thanks for the reminder. I'll get that this weekend and read it.
Hell yeah, man. All right, man.
Cool.
Well, thanks for coming on, and I'll See you next time. Don't forget, man, get hip or rot.
All right. See you later. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, later, man.